Hey, just before we jump into the episode, I'm wondering if you're using Medic at your company. If you're an AE or a sales leader listening to this, I've implemented Medic 3 times when I was a VP of sales, and now I help sales organizations implement Medic with their teams. I've got a free deal scorecard that you can basically evaluate and score your opportunities using the MedPick framework to see where you've got gaps, where there's risk in your forecast, so that you can identify them and do something about it and mitigate that risk. So if you want to get a copy of that, head over to the website. There'll also be a link in the show notes. Go to therevenueenabler.com. You'll see there's a drop down called the Learning Hub. There's a button called the Downloads. When you go there, you're looking for the MedPick deal score sheet. You can get instant access to that, as well as other things like the What We've Heard slide, my ghosting playbook, cold call scorecard, story builder, AI sales assistant, and so much more. So head over to therevenueenabler.com, go check out the Learning Hub and our downloads, and let's jump into the episode now. All right, hey everyone, welcome back to the Hit Your Numbers podcast. Today we're going to be having a conversation around, can AI really build pipeline? And I can imagine this is going to be a popular one because we've all seen, in fact, you spend more than half a second on LinkedIn on the newsfeed, and you will see some 75,000 step process that promises to generate opportunities. And I think what you guys are doing, Matt, is really, really special. So looking forward to getting your, thought leadership on this and what you've seen that's working and what's not working, so the listeners can put their best foot forward. So Matt, thanks so much for agreeing to have this conversation with us today. Do you want to give the listeners maybe a quick overview of who you are, maybe a little bit about your role today, maybe where you've come from, just for context, and then we can jump into the conversation.
Yeah. So firstly, it's a pleasure to be here. So thank you, James, for letting me come on. But yeah, so about me, so I'm the GTM Director at Perlon AI, and what we're doing, we build custom AI models around clients that we onboard. And these models, it really feeds in sort of like their value proposition, the ICP they're targeting, the pain points they're solving. All of this really relevant information goes into the model. And then our custom scrapers go away and they scrape, on average, 7 to 10 data points per lead. That brings it back into the model, and it just creates this really humanized messaging around, really tailored to the person that you're reaching out to. Ultimately, the way to do it is thinking about what works best for outreach, and it's still those manual emails where you're spending time putting in the research into the person, into the business, into the pain points, but it's enabling that at scale. So that's what we're building. Loads of exciting things we've got coming up as well. But yeah, in 2025, outbound is very, very challenging. So yeah, really looking forward to having this conversation. In terms of my background, I've had my phone basher days where I was doing 150 calls a day. That really laid the foundation of me as a salesperson. And then sort of went through the procedure of, mid-market account exec, enterprise account exec. And then I started getting into management and leading teams. And yeah, I just have enjoyed every step.
Yeah, love it. And I think you're absolutely spot on there, Matt. I've built some custom GPTs. I'm far from an AI expert, but I've been nerding out over it for 12 months, and I keep telling my customers it's an enabler,
Yeah.
not a full out replacement in most cases. Don't get me wrong, there is a place where it can do all of the job. Like when I built a team a few years ago, I actually outsourced the list creation and the account hypotheses piece to a team over in Asia because it's super cost effective, because I wanted my
Yeah.
sellers focused on execution. That can be completely replaced now with technology and with AI. 100%. I'm down with that. Running a discovery call, I'm not 100% convinced yet. So there is a time and place when you look at your production line where you can use AI as a replacement, but where you can actually use it as an enabler to improve the quality of execution, which is what you're talking about there, right? Doing the heavy lift, feeding in the
Exactly.
insights.
Yeah, exactly. And we're very strong on that messaging at Perlon. Like we talk to organizations and we say, look, we don't want to replace sales teams. We want to enable them. We want to make them better. We want to 3x their output. We want you to get more from your current sales team. there are businesses out there that are saying, completely get rid of your sales team and replace with AI. That's not what we're about, and I think that's really important to touch on.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Well, first question is actually going to be around top of funnel. So, yeah, it'd be interesting, I think, for the listeners. My business does enablement and training across the full sales process, and I'd love to spend more time teaching like business case and medic because it's what I'm passionate about. But I'm dragged in to fix pipeline, so it'd be
Yeah,
interesting to get your perspective because I think it's definitely getting harder and harder every year. If I remember back to 2016 when like SalesLoft, Outreach, Lead IQ,
yeah,
Vidyard became popular, this thing was magic, right? Nobody was using it. You could send 300 emails out, get ridiculous reply rate. People are still operating like that today. So in the last maybe like 2 or 3 years, from your perspective, what do you think's actually changed in outbound that's making it that much harder?
yeah, and yeah, you just mentioned there the glory days. I remember those days where those sales loft tools, outreach started coming out, and you could plug 2,000 contacts into a sequence, and your booking rate would be crazy high. And that was because ultimately people didn't realize they was enrolled in a sequence. They thought every email they were getting was a personalized email to them, even though all you was doing is changing the company name, the prospect name. That was really about it. And I think there was no spam filters back then, so you're always landing in primary. So there's loads of complications now. I think volume is the biggest one, right? The barrier to entry now to send out thousands of emails by clicking a button is available to pretty much every organization. So I think inboxes have got way more saturated now. And I think that is probably the leading thing now. People, the target people have just got bored of the messaging that's coming through. I think that's another thing as well. I think a lot of what salespeople are doing now is we're all sort of like almost singing from the same playbook at the moment. A lot of the messaging is very similar, and I think LinkedIn is an amazing tool and it's so good for learning from people. But I think people have now stopped testing for their own ICP and their own industry exactly what their messaging resonates. So I think that's a big thing that a lot of companies are doing now. We're all following the same similar playbook. And I think quality erosion has really creeped in as well in 2025. So automation has made it so much easier to send messaging out at scale. The good thing is if you've got your messaging really nailed down, super relevant, that means you can book a huge amount of meetings. The downside is if you haven't got that nailed down and you've still got bad messaging, all you're doing is scaling that bad messaging at a much larger scale. So I think that's another challenge as well. And just from my experience of talking to senior leadership teams at various industries, various companies, I also think that businesses have become less willing to meet these days as well. I think back sort of like a few years ago, I used to speak to leadership teams, and they used to say they used to have carved out budgets to be able to pilot and test different products. Whereas now that seems to be stripped back because the challenging economy that we're in. So I think there's pros and cons to that. I think the pros are if you do get the messaging right and you really understand what is the challenges that these businesses are going to be trying to solve. If you can nail that, then you know that the reply that you're getting is pretty much, that an opportunity could come from this. So I think that's the good side. I think the bad side is, yeah, people are just less willing to meet now. So you just got to really nail that messaging.
Yeah. Also, like you've been a leader, right? So when I think about it, when I went from a rep to a leader, your diary is so busy, not just on sales calls, but in internal meetings. And when you can see that there's like 1 30-minute block of white space, and it's either do I go stand outside, stare into the sky, and pray for a miracle to hit the
Yeah,
number this quarter, or do I take another AI generated, slot message and waste 30 minutes that I could have spent doing anything else? Like that is what you're up against, right? And if
yeah,
that message isn't super compelling, it doesn't capture the current state, doesn't show the better way of doing things with evidence, proof points, you are just going
mm,
to get ignored. And your point is spot on. I think when I saw it really change was, sorry if anyone's listening to this that works at Apollo, but like this is what drives me mad. So like Apollo, for example, their like PLG motion is you get a free account, but if you want to send manual emails in a sequence, you have to pay. But you can send
Yeah,
automated ones for free. Why is it not the other way around?
yeah,
Right. And it's like, so Apollo, raises all this money, becomes super popular overnight. Everyone goes and buys an account and realize they can just blast, blast, blast because the
yeah,
database and the sequencer is in the same environment. And that's when I
yeah.
noticed that written based communication channels started to become really hard, like email, because anyone could just go in there and have AI write a terrible email and then just blast it to 10,000 people.
Yeah, and that has become the norm now,
Yeah.
and that's something that I think, sales leaders, we need to have a bit of onus on ourselves as well and think, okay, what am I training my team to do, and what is the processes that we've got internally, and yeah, unfortunately, it's just become the norm now to be able to scrape a bunch of leads, put them into a sequence. Sometimes, like the amount of emails that I get on a daily basis that are nothing to do with what a GTM director would be, what would be their priorities that they're trying to solve. And it's just so clear that I've been put into a sequence. They haven't done any research about the individuals that are in that sequence. So I think that is something that needs to change. Obviously, putting that a little bit of bias on Perlon. That's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to change that style of working to a new way of working. So yeah, lots of developments to come.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, if you get the messaging right, then you can do the volume piece if the message is really, really solid. Like
Yeah.
whenever I go into new orgs, if it's really early stage startup and there's like a messaging and a positioning challenge, or if it's a more mature business and it's like a localized team, there's like 4 or 5 questions that I typically get people to put pen to paper on. So like, let's just pick any product. Let's take your product.
Hmm.
It'd be like, well, what problem are we trying to solve? And I break that question into 3 components. So, what's the actual problem? What's the root cause issue? So, what's actually causing that problem to exist, and how do we measure the
Yeah.
impact of that problem? Right. So, what are we actually setting out to solve? Is the
Yeah.
first thing, and you'd be amazed. Even fairly large organizations can't very quickly and clearly articulate that.
Yeah.
So, what is that piece? Then next up is why can't we solve it? So why can't the organization solve the problem themselves? Why do they need to look outside to get support? How do we solve the problem? How do we solve it better or differently than anyone else? And what's our proof? If you can actually just take a second to just answer those questions at a product or a feature or capability level, you'd be amazed how clearly you can then communicate to the outside world what value you add, what problems you solve, and people then genuinely want to learn more because they're
Yeah.
inspired to, because it makes sense. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And that's always a task that I get the team to do. We'll look at the different personas that we're targeting, and exactly what you said there. We'll just write down exactly what these problems are, what is going to be the priorities that they're trying to solve as an individual, as a business, and the impact on the business as well. So that's absolutely key. 100% agree with that. And also, if you have that, you'll be amazed at how high that puts you as a sales team above what other teams are doing. It's those small changes that you can implement that will put you far and beyond. Just like you said, I'm on the call with huge sales teams pretty much on a daily basis, and sometimes I'm amazed at how immature their sales process is for the size of business. So yeah, just making those small tweaks can make a big change.
Yeah, 100%. From your perspective, how do you feel like AE is changing how a typical sales rep works day to day?
So I think that in terms of the day to day, I think reps who embrace AI are going to be much more efficient, like hugely efficient, and they're going to be able to do the sort of like the work that three reps can do. I think there's going to be more time for high value tasks as well. So that's something that I'm a big believer of. So before I was at Perlon, I was actually a customer for Perlon. So we
Okay, nice.
implemented, we had one of those tool stacks and one of those sales processes where on paper it's amazing. Like you have all of these different tools linking into each other. You got AI agents talking to each other, and everything on paper is amazing. But in terms of the actual results, it wasn't quite the same. It wasn't matching. So we were doing our research and we found out about Perlon AI that build these custom models around the business, and we thought, okay, that could be pretty cool. But I still didn't really understand what that truly meant. And then I jumped on a call with them and realized that basically what they're doing is looking for what are the winning narratives that we use in our current messaging, or what personalized messages are really working for you. We build that into a model and we scale that. What that enabled us to do is spend, well, what that enabled me to do is spend more time with my SDRs, more time with my account execs. And we did this whole clean sort of like training regime where we were meeting regularly. We were doing role plays, which are always awkward at first, but once you break down that barrier, I absolutely love them because it's just so good for training. So more training, better. The reps are having better conversations. From there, the SDR team were better qualifying opportunities that were coming through the top of funnel. The close rate improved, so it had this huge knock-on effect throughout the whole business. So I think that is a positive thing of what AI is going to do for teams. I think on the negative sides, I think this is something as well. If there's any listeners that are SDRs, account execs, and they want to think of what not to do, I think this again links into what we were talking about the rise of those the sales loft and outreach times. It brought the rise of this, and I hate to say it, but it's this the lazy salesperson. I remember hearing about in sort of like 2017, where it's you could just add people to a sequence, press play, and just hope that the results are come in. And I
Yeah.
think people are thinking that AI is going to be this silver bullet that you can just implement, leave it, let it do its thing, and just wait for results to come in. It's not like that. The best teams are the ones that they know how to train it, they know how to prompt it, they know how to get the best out of it. So I think if you're a rep, learn how to do that really, really effectively. And yeah, then you'll get the best from it.
Yeah, 100%. Like sometimes I'll do a one-on-one with a rep and we'll do some like time management coaching,
Mm,
and we open up their calendar and I say, "Hey, we're going to color code this quickly. Green is things that make you money and red are things that cost you money." And it's
mm,
amazing, like 85-90% of the stuff on there is red. There's just not enough green stuff, right? And that's where we need to think about AI. I talk about this in every single episode, in every single conversation, is mapping out and writing down our production line, and then figuring out where can we actually implement AI 100%, 50%, or it actually requires a human being to do something,
yeah,
and then just crack on. Like
yeah,
let's
yeah.
just get on with it. Rather than sitting in strategy meeting after strategy meeting after strategy meeting, let's just get on with it and let's start building something. And there is again, as you'll probably appreciate this, there is a time where you need to bring in a Perlon AI and go, hey, you guys just own this.
Mm,
Here's the context, and that's what I love about what you guys are doing. Is the context is important, not just
mm,
hey, just run the process. It's like, give me the information first so I can put my best foot forward.
yeah,
And then there's some stuff that you can just build into a custom GPT that
mm,
is a very simple agent that doesn't require going out and acquiring a full platform. And I think that is how things will play out in the future. You'll have technology partners, and I call them
yeah,
partners, not vendors like you guys, where it is a partnership. And there's like transactional stuff that I can just code in GPT in 30 minutes and
yeah.
run with that.
100% agree with that. Yeah, and I love that color coding thing as well. That is something that I'm gonna implement. I love that.
Yeah, be warned. Yeah, it can sometimes be extremely frustrating when you realize it's littered with red stuff.
Yeah,
But good reflection, and it's a good reinforcement that I need to spend more time on the money making tasks.
yeah, yeah. I love that.
So yeah, okay. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit here then. So you're kind of deep it building Perlon, and if I'm right, like I follow you on LinkedIn, you're doing this challenge at the moment, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
talk to us about this challenge.
So I'm doing 100 dials a day for October, and even this morning I was like, right, I'm gonna do some prep for the call with James later. So I knew that I'd have about an hour of my day that was gonna be gone, and I was like, oof, when you're doing 100 dials a day, that is a long, long. So I actually started earlier this morning to get everything sorted, but um, yeah, the reason I'm doing it isn't because I'm a big believer in SDRs need to be doing 100 dials a day to be efficient. Like that like I'm all about what is the actual results. that they're bringing, whether that's $30 a day, $100 a day, that doesn't matter. The reason is we're doing it is we're bringing out a dialer into the platform. So rather than testing it over 3 months, I thought, you know what, let's loop it into a little bit of a game with myself. Let's try and do $100 a day. Let's take it back to my roots of being on the phone all day, every day. I thought it was going to be easy doing $100 a day because that's my first sales job. I was doing hundreds, $150 a day. And I was like, this will be fun. I've forgotten how incredibly intense it is, especially when you're looping in things like meetings and everything like that. But on the flip side, like Perlon AI is a new company, right? Startup mode, really, really new. We're still finding out internally what messaging resonates best with our the people that we're targeting. So not only has it allowed us to test our new dialer, make sure there's no bugs or anything like that, it's also allowing us to fast track the testing of what resonates most with the people that we're reaching out to. And yeah, so for that, it's been a super valuable experiment. I mean, I'm only 9 days in. I've still got a long, long way to go. But yeah, it's just been a really good experiment, and it's allowed me to post on LinkedIn every day as well, which has just been hugely beneficial.
Yeah, love it. I wrote down feedback loop.
Mm,
So the more you do something, the quicker you can figure something out, right? Like our strapline is something I hate saying this, but I'll die in a hill on, and I'm prepared for my business to go out of business. Believing this so much is that nobody gets a degree in B2B sales. I do not have a degree in building pipeline and pipeline management. I
yeah,
figured it out over 15 years, made a load of mistakes, some very expensive, some with deals, some with people.
yeah,
And it drives me crazy that so few reps actually get proper training, proper coaching.
yeah,
So it took me a while to get that messaging when I quit my job and started this business. And it was a little bit disconnected and stuff, but posting on LinkedIn, running a newsletter, speaking to people, in your case, making $100 a day, you can very quickly close that feedback loop. I mean, I did a post about an hour ago on LinkedIn. I even said this will be the quickest way for me to validate if this is a good idea or not. And I was basically
mm,
pitching, should we do a 2 day in-person workshop, bring in special guests, talk about how you can use AI, how you should use Medic in your business, breakout sessions. Would people be up for doing it? Now, if people interact with that post, that might tell me I'm onto something. I need to do it more
yeah,
than once, but it's a feedback loop. And that's the cool
100%.
thing about leveraging AI with human beings is AI can help you come up with the ideas or execute, and then human beings go and talk to another human being about it and see if that is effective quickly rather than
Yeah,
taking too long. And then you go, hey, let's course correct. This isn't resonating. Let's fine tune it. Let's tweak it. Let's go again. And that's, I guess, what you're doing with this, right? Is validating your product, but also the messaging to package that up.
exactly. Yeah, it's validating the product, validating everything. I've got a spreadsheet, and every single day I'm doing different. I'm targeting different personas. I'm doing different openers, different. Even the tone. The other day I was doing right. I'm going to start the day by being really energetic when I pick up the phone. If they answer, I'm like, "Hey, this is Matt from Perlon AI. How are you?" And then people immediately just think, "Oh, that's a sales call." And then I did a more sort of like, they pick up the phone and I'm just sort of like, hi, this is Matt from Perlon AI. And I'm just testing everything. And I think, why not? Why not? And I'm enjoying it. It's not going to be something that I'm going to do after October. I'm a firm believer of, maybe I'm a bit old school, but I love cold calling. So even after this challenge that I do, I'm always going to make sure that I carve out time in my day to cold call. And I'm a big believer of sales leaders pulling up their sleeves and getting involved as well. So I'll constantly make it part of my daily structure. Won't be doing 100 dials a day though, because it is yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot. It was a lot back in the day. I remember having to balance an actual phone to my ear and then
Yeah,
type numbers into an actual phone straight out of the yellow pages.
yeah,
That was hard work. It's a little bit easier now, but 100 is still 100 reps, right? It still takes time, especially when you're leading a team and you're doing the startup thing where there's like a million other plates to spin.
yeah.
It's full
And
on.
it's even from a product perspective as well. We had a big planning session the other day actually, and one of them is, because we're bringing out this new dialer, how can we make it more efficient? And one of the things that I was struggling with, especially in terms of a time perspective, is I always like to have a little look on the person's LinkedIn profile, make sure, see if they live in where they live, make sure they're doing all of that sort of thing. And I was like, I hate having to go from the Perlon site to LinkedIn, check out their company website, think of an opener that would be really good to say and everything like that. So sat down with Brent, the CTO, and I was like, mate, we need to have this as a little snippet in the platform so that we're just removing that manual process of someone having to, even if it takes them, a minute to do it, it all adds up. So, we're just building cool things like that into it, which has been off the back of doing this challenge. So yeah, it's been a great chance to do that.
Yeah, I love that. And for the two sales leaders that might be listening to this, get in the trenches. Like when I was a VP, I would get in the trenches. I'd build a list. I would, do the research, and I would make, $50. I mean, one afternoon, 3 meetings dropped out. I made $147 in the afternoon. It was in the US. We had Zoom info. You can easily
Yeah,
get through the numbers when you've got a mobile number, a direct dial, and an office number, right? But
yeah,
get out there and actually experience how hard it is to do stuff. Open up CRM, open up HubSpot, whatever it is, and actually try and build a list of people that are still at that company,
yeah,
still have the right telephone number or have a telephone number, and then go and try and source that stuff and see what it's actually like for the rep that you're, slagging off in the exec meeting, saying Johnny isn't doing enough dials. Go and actually experience it,
yeah.
and then look at AI or look at platforms like Perlon and be like, hey, how do I actually make this easier for myself and actually make it easier for my people? And like actually experience it firsthand, because like you're doing there, you're running the process yourself and going, I can do this. It's important to do it, so I'm going to do it. But
Mm.
surely there's a way that AI or automation or technology can do 80, 90, 100% of this, and then just get curious, right? And implement it. Is that, I guess that's your mindset.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And because we are still in that infancy stage as well, we can have these conversations and decide very quickly, right, yeah, let's build it. Let's build this. That makes complete sense. So, but yeah, I completely agree with what you just said there about sales leaders getting involved. I think it is, you learn so much. Like, you're still learning no matter what you're doing within sales, there's always learning to be made. So I love being in the trenches, like you said, because I love learning new things about discovery calls that I didn't know previously, and new questions, new openers. All of this sort of thing is things that I can then imprint onto my team. And you only get to do that once you roll your sleeves up and get involved. So yeah, completely agree.
So we've built the leading skill optimization platform with 400 plus sales lessons, 12 courses from prospecting all the way through to late stage deal negotiation and more, one-to-one sales coaching and AI sales assistance. And I want to give you 7 days free access to the platform. The reason I want to do this is because nobody gets a degree in B2B sales. And after training and coaching hundreds of sales reps and teams in the last 2 years, most haven't mastered critical selling skills, and it's preventing them from being promoted, earning great money, and building a great career in B2B sales. So go to the revenueenabler.com, grab a free trial, and join hundreds of salespeople that are closing their skill gaps and mastering sales. There's a link in the video description. I'm looking forward to getting you set up. Give me a shout with any questions. All right, I've got a question I want to get into, but first I want to ask you. So when you think about, and they're kind of connected, so I wanted to kind of position it this way. So when you think about tools,
Hmm.
technology,
Hmm.
what do you think the right tech stack looks like and the right size? Because I have customers that have pretty much nothing, or maybe like a database tool at best,
Yeah,
and then I have others that have got more Chrome extensions, and I've had hot dinners,
yeah.
and they have 5 of the same version, right? It's like, what do you feel like is the right stack, and what do you think is mission critical for the sales tech stack in 2025 moving into 2026?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think the fundamentals, right? You need to have a CRM. You need to get your team using the CRM. I know. There's a lot of salespeople that don't like using the CRM, but the fundamentals, things like that, things like a dialer, things like get comfortable with building AI agents, or get comfortable with partnering people like Perlon who can do that stuff for you. That is going to be fundamentals. I think we have gone a bit too far with tool complexity now. I think just the conversations I have with not only sales leaders, but also the individuals that are using the tools as well. We've almost got to that stage now, I think, where instead of people being 100% comfortable with one tool, they're now 60% comfortable with four tools. And it means you're not getting the best out of all of these tools. So I think tool complexity is a big thing. I think we've gone a little bit over the top now with that. So I think there needs to be a consolidation piece bringing into that. But in terms of like the fundamentals, just know what you're doing with the tools that you have in place. So in terms of tech stack size, completely varies from company to company. I speak to some small businesses and they've got 5 or 6 different tools to run their sales operations and it's working for them. So, that's fine. Then I'm working with other companies that are, huge businesses, thousands of employees, and they honestly have around about 72 different products underneath their sales tech stack. And I'm like, guys, uh,
That's
who's using
crazy.
this anymore? Like, you've got this subscription running, who is actually using this? And they have no idea. So I think tool consolidation again needs to come from the leadership team. The sales leaders need to understand what are the fundamentals that the teams are using. I think anything that is going to enhance automation is going to be the real winner in 2025. We're seeing great success with multi-layered approach to outbound. So that I mean, emails are the best thing for laying the foundations and getting that out at scale quickly. But you need to have a process and you need to have a tool stack around, okay, what else is involved in reaching out to this individual and doing it in a way that feeds back to the messaging that's already been sent. It's no good sending an email from this tool, sending a LinkedIn message through this tool, sending a phone call from this tool, and it not linking all together. But yeah, just having a tool stack which is like multi-layered, multi-threaded is where we're seeing the best success.
Yeah, I agree. And like, yeah, can I get my copy really compelling based on that exercise, like those 5 questions I mentioned earlier? So I can do the volume piece around digital, communication around like email, maybe LinkedIn. But I also think then that frees up capacity for the creativity in us as salespeople that, again, sometimes we don't have the time to leverage because we are manually doing things like direct mail. Like if I
Mm,
go back 15 years, I left a call center telemarketing, I guess we'd call it inside SDR now, where we were booking meetings for other companies. And I landed my very first field sales job. And I just come from being a top performer across 60 people on the campaign for 18 months, booking 40, 50, 60 meetings a month.
hmm.
Um, and going in all on cold calls as well. Like email didn't even really
Nice.
exist then.
Yeah.
Um, and went into his field sales role. I got hired with no field experience because of my references on cold calling strengths. I couldn't book a meeting to save my life cold calling these small businesses,
Yeah.
and I almost lost my job over it. And I sat in my office staring at the phone going, what's the point of picking it up? I'm not going to get past these gatekeepers because they're really small industrial companies. There has to
Mm,
be a different way of getting attention. So I just started writing handwritten letters,
mm,
because one of the things that I was measured on was going out and doing some door knocking and getting, we called them comp slips, where
hmm.
it's like letter-headed paper, and companies would give them out, and you'd ask the receptions, "Hey, look, who looks after IT here? Matt does. Okay." You'd write it down.
Yeah.
It sounds bonkers, guys, and then you'd go back and you'd type these into a database.
Yeah.
Right. I used to drive around the industrial estates and look at the business. Go, that's quite a big company. It looks like a big building. They must have lots of people in there. They must need lots of phones, right? And that was the world. And I started to write handwritten letters. Hey, Matt, I was on the industrial estate 2 days ago with my customer ABC. One of the
Mm,
challenges they're running into is bad connectivity means customers can't call in, which means they're calling somebody else. Does that resonate with you? How we're solving that problem is this. PS, here's my mobile number. I know you're the managing director, so you're probably in early before it gets busy. I'll be around at 7 a.m. Call me on this number. And
mm.
honestly, the amount of times that my phone would ring was
Yeah.
crazy. And I built great pipeline and had a good run for 2 years. And that's the stuff where I can get creative because Perlon AI or whatever it is doing the busy work for me.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, look, if it works, it works, right? I absolutely love that, and I think for me that the creativity thing is going to be even more apparent in the next couple of years. I think with the advancement of AI, and I'm a true believer of like personal brands. I think will be a big thing for salespeople. And I think those who are creative about the personal brands that they're doing, not only for them but also the branding of the business, I think that whole creative movement in sales is going to be massive. Personally, I think there's going to be. I just think like videos are going to be that no one's really doing videos and scaling videos too much because right now the technology isn't there yet. It's too difficult to do. But I think that is going to play a big part in where outbound is going over the next few years. And I think, um, the younger generation, they're familiar with things like TikTok and things like that. I think that is going to start bringing its way into sales processes and that sort of like creativity of doing things. I think we're going to see stuff like that, which I think could be quite exciting, really.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm gonna give you this use case and see if you guys can build it. We'll do it live so that there's evidence that if you guys get mega rich off of it, that I should get some kind of cut. Share this
Yeah.
clip with your CTO. So at Staff Circle, when I was building a HR tech business, we had some good inbound flow, and then we were doing outbound, and we were pretty good on the phones. Didn't get a load moving with what I'd call like traditional email outbound.
Mm,
So I had this random idea that I was going to go to Starbucks and get two large plain cups. I said,
mm,
don't write anything on them, don't fill them up, just give me the cups. I went back to the office. I got one of the reps. I was a VP of sales. And I
yeah.
said, take a photo of me. And I'm holding these two cups. And we put it into our first email and it went into the call to action and it had our value prop. And then
Hmm.
the call to action was fancy a virtual coffee and chat. This one's got your name on it. And it would automatically put my name on one cup and Matt's name on the other one. And in the training platform I've got, it's one of the lessons. And there's screenshots of people replying, like from Vodafone,
Yeah.
from Roche, like some of the biggest companies in the world, with crying emoji saying, I've just booked the meeting in your calendar, or yes, this is the best email I've ever received. Let's chat. And it's just super creative, right? But that was manual. I had to manually put Matt's name on it, then
Yeah.
Sarah's, then Julie's. I
Yeah.
wonder if you could get that kind of image personalization baked into an
Yeah.
email.
We're discussing it. We're
Okay.
discussing it internally. Like it's definitely something that we think is going to be the future of outbound. The struggles is the sort of like the deliverability and things like that. Like how do we get it to land in people's primary mailbox and things like that. But I definitely think there's going to be scope for much more creativity in the outbound game for sure. I even think of things like Sora 2, the open AI video, it just looks so realistic now. And it's
Yeah.
sort of like that in a couple of years' time is almost going to be, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between me sending a video with my own phone compared to me just going in into an app and saying, send a video to the CEO of this company or whatever that looks like. I just think of how creative it can be there. You can almost story tell through AI videos and send it to your the target lead, and it can just be this whole narrative that you make up. But I just think that's so much more engaging than sending over a direct message or something like that. So yeah, I think it could go. I think it could go that way over the next couple of years. I think it'd be quite exciting to see how it develops. But yeah, I definitely think there's scope for that.
Yeah. War of attention, right? I've been saying this for years. Like the more emails that we can send out, the harder it is to get attention. Attention
Hmm.
spans are an all-time low. I Googled it the other week. It's like 8.25 seconds, down from 12 seconds a few years. Like it's only getting worse because of, doom scrolling and things like
Yeah,
that. So look, don't get me wrong. What I'm not saying is all of those crazy number of meetings we booked from the coffee cups. We also did one with a billboard ad at the side of the road and it had the value prop and the logo of the company on it. Like as a breakup email, it said, "Hey Matt, I just spent our last marketing dollars on this billboard ad to get your attention. Did it work?"
yeah,
And then it had the billboard, and that
yeah,
honestly, the numbers, right? But again, super manual. And it wasn't the billboard ad, it wasn't the coffee cups that booked the meeting. It was something that grabbed their attention, made them laugh, and then read. And then go,
yeah.
do you know what? That message is actually pretty relevant to my world right now. Otherwise, you open up an email like we get all of the time. You're
Mm,
busy, you've got 3, 4, 5, 10 monitors, you're in the business, on the business, and you're like, I don't even have the brain power right now to look at that wall of text.
yeah,
That's the bit that I think will make the difference, not the gimmicky image that's in it. It's grabbing them,
Mm.
realizing that's just for me, nobody else, and then going, hey, do you know what? That's pretty relevant.
Yeah, 100%. It's that relevance piece, and for me, it does go into. We're seeing a massive difference at Perlon because we do all of our outbound, right? So we're pretty reliant on our outbound as well. And what's working really well for us is building a process around our outbound so that we know the person that we're sending the email to, we're also going to have this whole chain of process built around that. So as a whole, rather than thinking of it as individual steps within a sequence, it's this one process. And from there, by the end, from start to finish, we hope that we've done enough to get their attention, understand who we are, what we're trying to solve, and be relevant enough that that individual has thought, yeah, I want to meet with these guys. But we know people do their homework now as well, right? Usually, when we're doing outbounds, the first thing that you do is they drop onto your website, they look at any reviews online, they look at all this. So businesses have to be very aware that buyers are doing that as well. So yeah, it's a whole process around that.
Yeah, that's why it's go to market, right? If sales are doing great stuff, but the web copy, which again drives me mad, is how few marketeers are actually in Gong or in the call recording tools listening to customer voice and then writing copy
Yeah,
off of that. You might run a great execute a great process. Perlon AI does all of the great research, it builds the copy, everything else like that. It does the execution. Somebody opens the email eventually, they go to the website and it's like, I thought we were talking about this, but actually looks like something else that's very confusing.
yeah.
It has to be, a go-to-market play, right? And everything has to be aligned on that production line for it to work super effectively.
Yeah, and this is what I love about go to market. It's sort of like I don't know about you, but I remember my early days in my sales career. Sales and marketing were like the complete other side. They're almost competing against each other.
Yeah,
Whereas now that alignment is so much closer. I think it's only going to get more and more close. I think in the future, I think marketing and sales will work on outbound initiatives. We're already seeing that, but I think it's going to become much more common practice for sales and marketing to run outbound together. Um, yeah.
yeah. I mean, my point of view, and people are gonna again, the two people that listen to this will probably disagree, but I think there'll be a couple of different cohorts in go-to-market. So you'll have like a VP of pipeline, and
Mm,
that will be a marketing and an SDR function sitting in one. It'll be run by
mm,
one. And that'll be focused on a couple of different things. Then you have like a head of sales execution, so they'll get involved at discovery through to close, and
mm,
then you'll have some kind of like head of AI, and then like some head of like sales effectiveness, which would be like training, coaching, enablement, continuous skill development to build a really efficient, lean sales organization. And I think again, it's about dropping our ego, being genuinely curious about where the business is today, where are we trying to get to, and what could stop us from getting there, and making changes, placing a really big bet and
mm.
aligning go to market on that bet. Culture is important, right? And running towards it and thinking about how AI or technology like what you guys are building can help get us there faster or at least get us there on time.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. And funny you mentioned about the AI things. So, Phil, a guy that works at Perlon, he's heading up customer success, and a big part of what we're doing in the customer success is basically like prompt engineering, right? It's going back to the AI model that we've created for this business and prompting it and retraining it in the right way to make sure that we're getting the best output. I think that is going to be a whole industry. This sort of like prompt engineering experts that are getting the best out of the AI tools is going to be massive over the next few years. So, and I think they need to align very closely with sales and marketing for the right messaging. So yeah, that's going to be really exciting space to see grow as well.
Yeah, and I think it will come a lot faster than well, you and I know it's going to come pretty much tomorrow. But for a lot of
Yeah,
people, it's when's that going to come? And I think it's probably going to come a lot faster than that date you're thinking of.
yeah,
It was only the other week I was speaking to somebody about building I built James GPT, which is my AI twin. I actually had a phone call with it the other day, and it
nice.
sounds like me. It creeped the hell out of my missus, but she's a
Yeah,
dentist, so she doesn't really get it. And I was like that when ChatGPT and custom GPTs come around, I was like, I wonder if one day I could actually speak to one of my coach bots, and I was like, I bet it's going to be ages away. And then 3 weeks later, I'm having a conversation with it. It's
Yeah,
just
it's
so fast.
yeah, it is gonna come in very, very quickly. We're just done. We've got our voice clone as well, and
Okay.
even with me, I've got a bit of a London Essex. I grew up right on the border of London and Essex. I've got a bit of a London Essex twang, and I was like, "There's no way it's going to be able to clone my accent." I listened to it and I was like, "This is scary, like
Yeah.
absolutely scary how accurate it is." And yeah, it's coming, but I think, as I say, the best reps are the ones that embrace it. They're the ones that understand how to use it, how to get the best out of it, and just become way, way, way more efficient in the way that they're running their sales process. So yeah, that's my advice for anyone listening is, yeah, get comfortable with it because it's coming. It is coming, and it's going to get more and more exciting as we go.
Yeah, and it is a lot of fun. Like I've built 30 agents now, and they all do different things so that they're built with context so that they do just that one thing. And I love it.
Yeah,
Like I genuinely enjoy when I'm like, hey, I'm building a new training program, or right now we just launched a couple of new programs with different teams. I'm like, hey, how can I build these guys some AI that just focuses on that from a reinforcement perspective? Um, and I love like just getting in there and going, wow, like I had no idea it would do this. I tried
yeah,
it like 6 months ago, and it like computer said no me so many times, so I moved on. Now it's like basics, and
yeah.
I just think it's so much fun. It is so much
Yeah,
fun.
exactly. Well, that's it. You think of the advancements in the last year, the last 2 years, where it is now. It's sort of like, where's that going to be in the next 5, 10 years time? That is, um, yeah, that's really futuristic stuff. But yeah, I love it. I love it, and I think it's really, really exciting time to be involved in.
Yeah, it's a great time to be in sales. I said to somebody yesterday, like it got to a point where it's like everything just feels the same and it needs something, and it finally feels like that something is here. It feels like there's this energy now. So,
Yeah.
okay, I got one last question for you. So let's
hmm
think about sales reps, be it an SDR or maybe a full cycle AE that's in the trenches on the front line, needs to build pipeline. What are
hmm
like one or two things that they could do today after listening to this episode to improve their outbound results?
Yeah, that is a very good question. I think the first one is basically just following off of what we just said, right? So get really good at using AI, get comfortable with it, understand how to prompt, how to test. Don't just set it up, leave it, and think that's job done. Train your AI. I think the best people that I speak to are they basically treat AI as a partner, literally an assistant to them to help them with their day to day. So I think that's really good. And I think the other thing is just if we talk about the fundamental messaging of outbound, really understands the different personas that you're targeting. A bit like we spoke to at the start of this podcast, get a really good understanding of the exact pain points that the people you're reaching out to are trying to solve, the impact to them and the business if they don't solve those challenges, and your exact value proposition and how you do that. So understand that. And what I always like telling my SDR team, especially my account executives as well, but more the SDR when they're opening that door, which quite frankly is one of the hardest things to do in sales. Think like the individual that you're reaching out to. If you're reaching out to a CEO, think like a CEO. And just that mindset shift has a massive, massive difference. Understand from their perspective what they're going to be dealing with day in, day out, running an organization, and what is going to stop them in their tracks and think, yes, I'm going to reply back to this individual who I don't know, and set up a meeting. If you start thinking like that, that makes a big difference. And test everything. Test everything. Different CTAs, different subject lines, length, tone. Just look at the data, see where the patterns are. Constantly be testing. And then, yeah, just to wrap it up, just treat outbound as a process rather than individual touch points. It's all wrapped up. It's all baked into this one process, and I think that's how you get the best out of it. And yeah, don't be scared to pick up the phone as well. I think in 2025, not enough people are doing it, so yeah, that can make a big difference.
Yeah, I agree on all of that, and the phone thing for sure. Like both my teams, majority of pipe came from the phone. It's no different with the people that we work with now. Yeah, spot on. And I wrote down here three things as you were speaking. Training the AI is so important. If you go to it and
hmm
say, write me an email that I can send out in a sequence, go. it will come back and say, hey, first name, I hope you're well and business is booming, rocket ship emoji. They get ignored. They go
Yeah.
to spam. They frustrate the hell out of you and the buyer. Like, it has to be trained on what good looks like. Otherwise, it will go and hallucinate, come back, and you'll be like, oh, this sucks. I don't trust it. So you'll
Yeah.
go back and do, whatever wasn't working. So there's that. Use AI to use AI. So sometimes when I'm building custom GPTs, I'm like, hey, here's the context. Here's like a 50-page deck. Here's like a massive transcript, whatever it is. I give it what good looks like. And I say, can you actually write the instructions I can copy and paste now into a custom GPT?
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
And
100%.
honestly, it comes back, I'm like, holy shit, like I would have
It's amazing.
never.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mental. Use AI to use AI. It's like,
Yeah.
it feels a bit like a cheat code. And I hate that. Hate
Yeah.
saying that, but it is a massive cheat code, right? Don't
Yeah.
scratch your head and try and figure out how to write prompts. Ask GPT or the
Yeah.
AI model you're using to help you use it. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. It knows its
Yeah.
stuff for sure.
Yeah, and one last kind of thing that I learned a long time ago, I think I saw it in a LinkedIn post, and I just use it pretty much every day now, is when I ask AI to do something, um, I then just type in saying, "This is good. How can we make it 10 times?" Literally, I'll put 10x better,
Yeah.
and it's so much better.
Yeah, it's really good, and any prompts like that, like this is good, do it 10 times better, or you're currently giving 100%. I want 300% effort. Anything
That's a
like
nice one.
that, it's just sort of like, yeah, you learn how to get better at prompting and just get more output from the model. But yeah, it's as I say, it's just such an exciting time for sales right now.
Yeah, it is. And this sounds so silly. And I kind of thought it was a bit silly when I first heard it, but it's so true. You have to give it a pat on the back because if you don't, you say, hey, no, I want it to be like this. It'll go, oh, shit, my master
Yeah,
doesn't like this. I'll go, like
yeah,
you said,
yeah,
it's an SDR. They'd go and completely change it. You have to say, hey, Matt, you're really onto something here. What I want you to do, though, is I want it to be a bit more like this. So you have to let it
yeah,
know that it's doing some good stuff. Otherwise, it will
yeah,
completely
yeah,
change everything. And you'll be like, no, I asked you to do this. And I've shouted at my laptop before, and the missus is like, what is that nut job doing down there?
yeah,
Because I didn't think like that. I was like, no, I want it like this. You're not listening to me. But
yeah.
actually, I
It's
had to
the
give it the nod. You're on the right track. Keep going.
Yeah, 100%. It's the classic, the do it better. Do it better. That's like the prompt that everyone was doing at the start. Do it better.
Yeah,
But yeah, then you learn the better ways to prompt, and even to start, like you say, ask ChatGPT what are some good prompts, and it will come out with these prompts. And follow people on LinkedIn, follow people on whatever social channels it is, and you'll start getting a really good idea of what a good prompt looks like. But yeah, it just makes me laugh because my wife's the same. She the amount of please and thank yous in her messages just really makes me laugh. It's yeah, it's quite sweet, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's funny. Look, Matt, I know you've got a hard stop. Thank you so much for taking out the time and sharing the business that you're building. I think it's really exciting, but also just generally like what you're seeing in the market, speaking to loads of different organizations. That's why I do this podcast, is to speak to people that are working in the business, on the business. They're in the trenches. They can share what's working, what's not working, because they've done it, they've tried it, and other people can then avoid doing that rather than making those mistakes. So thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Looking forward to sharing this with everybody.
Yeah, thank you, James. I've really, really enjoyed it. And yeah, really, really enjoyed it.
And I know you're really active on LinkedIn, so we'll put a link to your LinkedIn profile. Guys, go and check Matt out, especially around
Yeah,
this 100-day cold call challenge.
especially
It's
the
pretty
100
cool.
day. I'm posting every day at the moment. But yeah, yeah, follow along because it's and I'm being totally transparent as well. Like the other day, I didn't hit hundreds. I'm not. It's just it's really raw. I just want it to be really raw and really sort of like people to just follow along on the journey. So yeah,
Love it. We need more of that out there, more
yeah,
authenticity. So
that's
yeah,
it.
thanks so much for
Awesome.
sharing your expertise, and we'll have to get you back soon to do another episode and
Yeah,
see what's changed.
100%. 100%. Cheers,
Awesome.
James. Thank you.
Amazing. Cheers, Matt. See you later.
See you later. Bye.
All right, thanks for listening to this episode. I've got something else I want to give you before we wrap up here. So we've built the leading skill optimization platform with 400 plus sales lessons, 12 courses from prospecting all the way through to late stage deal negotiation and more, one-to-one sales coaching and AI sales assistance. And I want to give you 7 days free access to the platform. The reason I want to do this is because nobody gets a degree in B2B sales, and after training and coaching hundreds of sales reps and teams in the last 2 years, most haven't mastered critical selling skills, and it's preventing them from being promoted, earning great money, and building a great career in B2B sales. So go to therevenueenabler.com, grab a free trial, and join hundreds of salespeople that are closing their skill gaps and mastering sales. There's a link in the video description. I'm looking forward to getting you set up. Give me a shout with any questions.